morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Are you guys ready for part 2? I think this video is the one that may really seal the deal for any of you who don't see the manipulation and the gaslighting and the look over there tactics that have been going on within this case. But first of all, I want to say hello to everyone. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a current subscriber, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support me and my channel. Mainstream media has blamed TikTok for turning this case into a, quote, vile circus of cruelty, unquote. In my last video, I think I proved who really turned this case into this quote-unquote vile circus of cruelty. And while TikTok is to blame for many of the absurd rumors that do not have one iota of validity, the mainstream media does not like alternative media. It goes against the narrative that's being controlled. We step outside the box and we look at things the way they should be looked at. Mainstream media doesn't like that because they're not allowed to do that anymore. This is a national case, and Paul himself asked that everybody figure out what's going on here. We heard what Detective Chief Simon Harding had to say in part 1. We saw the sleight of hand type maneuvers that the police did in part 1 as well. We've taken just a brief look into the first 23 days of inconsistencies and trickery. I've decided to make this more of a series at this point, until I've exhausted everything that I have to say in regards to my theories. So be on the lookout for part 3. The first thing I want to say about the discovery of Nicola's body is something that I have said from the start. That is that I believe her body was planted there after police stopped their search. The main question would be by whom? But I think the first thing I need to do is show you where I came to that conclusion and why I believe that's the case. In looking back at all the reports from that day, including Jason Rothwell's response on social media, I have found a few things that just don't add up. I've also noticed some time discrepancies as well as procedural coincidences, I guess, for lack of a better term. Coincidences in procedure that have furthered my opinion that there is some sort of cover-up going on here. Many people have asked me to look into financials and the business avenues of Paul and Nicola. And I have a little bit, admittedly not as much as I would like to. I did that right at the beginning. I said in a previous video, the only debt that I was able to find was a 49,000 pound debt for business number 3. And it basically matched the assets of that business. So that means that the business ended up breaking even at the end of things. That was the only major debt that I found. But like I said, I didn't super deep dive into any of that. But there is another business within the family that belongs to Nicola's parents. This business, when I looked into it, looks very questionable to me. And we're going to get into that in part 3 when we look at the why and the how possibilities. Why Nicola and how? In part 1, I left off with my opinion of this being a show, a cover-up. This video will make that theory seem even more plausible, if not even probable, to you as it is to me. I'm going to start by talking about February 19th. Part 3, we're going to take a deeper look into theories within this theory. And then, as I said, I'm probably going to move on to another case. I have actually been asked to look into another case that I haven't even heard of, as well as a few others. I also want to get one more thing out of the way. It seems YouTube is flagging an awful lot of comments. These are comments that there's nothing wrong with. I've always welcomed all comments here, even if there are differences of opinion, because as I always say, as long as we're not insulting each other, anything goes here on this channel. Some flagged comments are actually flagged for a reason, but I've been noticing more and more that YouTube is flagging perfectly normal comments, and I don't understand why. All my settings are open, so I don't know why normal comments are being flagged. So if you don't see your comment and it's concerning to you, you can either make another comment letting me know. Otherwise, know that I will look at the flagged comments and I will attempt to approve the comment. Although I've noticed that sometimes even when I try to approve certain comments, they won't go through. And I don't know why. There's no bad words. There's nothing within the comment that's rude or insulting or anything. I just want to let you guys know that's not me. When I say all opinions are welcome, I mean it. If you insult me or another commenter and YouTube flags it as inappropriate and actually hides it, then oh well, I guess. Let's get into February 19th, 2023. I did want to start out by saying that most police personnel I believe to be committed and hardworking individuals who want to provide service to their communities. So when I make the digs at police in regards to this case, I'm not speaking about the entire police force as a whole, because the justice system is highly compartmentalized, right? We have people following orders from higher ups. There's an order of rank, so not everyone has a say. If you're told to do something by your higher up, you do it or you lose your job. And this happens anywhere where ranks are involved. So I don't want it to come across as every single person involved in this case is responsible for any of my opinion about what's going on or what I believe is going on that's shady within the case. The only person we should really be concentrating on at this point, in my opinion, is DSI Rebecca Smith, the senior investigating officer. She's the one with all the evidence, and she's the one in control. She's the one responsible for the case, and she's the one controlling the narrative. She seemed to be put in charge of this case after Sally Riley was making so many mistakes. Now, I obviously took a look into Rebecca Smith's career just a little bit, and she's been highly spoken about. She has been with the force for a few decades now and has solved major cases. I'm not going to go into it. You can research her on your own. It's all public knowledge, but my point is she's very reputable. My goal is to seek justice for Nicola. I have a fear that the inquest will not be the truth. I have a feeling it can't be, but I do have a feeling that the family will know the truth. It just may not be made public. So I suppose there can be solace in that. That's if the theory that I'm working on is accurate, and this is all my opinion, speculation, it's all alleged. There may not be a way for what really happened to be made public. We were directed to the river from day one, and Nicola was found in the river. Let's take a look at the timeline of that day, February 19th, and who was involved in the discovery. The initial call was made to police at 11:36 a.m. This call was allegedly placed by a psychic medium by the name of Jason Rothwell, though at first, very much like everything else in this case, we were told it was 2 dog walkers. They really like the dog walkers in this case. Everyone's a dog walker until they aren't anymore. I want you to keep in mind that just 60 minutes after this initial call came in, mainstream media had flooded the internet with extensive coverage, including many photos of the events unfolding in real time. We're going to circle back to this. Nicola's body was found at a remote location just off Rawcliffe Road, about 1 kilometer downstream of the river from St. Michael's on Wire, or about 0.9 of a mile from where she was allegedly last seen. There was a local witness who spoke, and this is what he said, quote, "I pulled off at about 11:50 a.m. and I heard the man talking to police about something in the undergrowth. Police cars were flying down the road with the blues and twos going. A police officer pulled up a few minutes later and got his drone out. 5 minutes after that, the police helicopter arrived. Officers then asked me to get out, so I moved 200 yards down the road. I could still clearly see the man pointing at the riverbank. Then more police cars raced down with the blues and twos going. They cleared the entire road," unquote. Okay, so the initial call to police was at 11:36 a.m. According to this witness, by 11:50 a.m., police cars were flying down the road with the quote-unquote blues and twos going. And within minutes, there was a drone out and the road was shut down. That may not seem odd to anyone, but it almost appears that they were just waiting for someone to call this in. If not, then it was record time that every single entity was at the scene in under an hour. Right away, people noticed that there's no walking path in that area. There's no dog in any of the media photos, and the body was concealed from sight in the reeds. Another thing that fits the pattern of this case, and its handlings perfectly, is that there was no crime scene established. There was no forensic team. Nothing was sealed off. The cordon was just of the road, and that was to prevent people from coming in to have a look that shouldn't be there. This reported dog walker actually spoke out. Again, Rebecca Smith just can't seem to keep a handle on all these pawns. Jason Rothwell confirmed on social media that he had actually been asked by the police to climb down the embankment to point out exactly where he suspected the body might be found, and this was for the benefit of police helicopters who were circling around overhead to get a good view. As you can see here on Twitter, a person said there's absolutely no way police would let him casually walk down there if there was a body. It would have been sealed off prior to trained detectives arriving, and the chances of a photographer on the other side of the bank, it's 1 mile to the nearest bridge. Well, isn't that a great observation? Jason Rothwell replies to this, saying the officer did in fact ask him to go down. He said, quote, "The officer asked me to go down as it happens to help him direct the helicopter's camera. Do I need to say it? Sounds like a performance to me. Because as far as I'm concerned, that original tweet was spot on. That poster knew that this didn't make sense. But it went well over Jason's head, and he confirmed that this had in fact happened, and it was all for media purposes. There was a photographer on the other side of the bank, and the closest bridge is a mile away. So I would say again, record timing on getting those photos. Bravo! Who does this award go to? A freelance photographer by the name of Chris Neal. Most of the mainstream media stories that featured photos were the photos taken by Chris Neal. Chris Neal isn't a local, though. He lives about an hour away, and according to him, it was sheer luck that he just so happened to be there in the area when her body was found so that he could provide these pictures and to also identify Jason Rothwell. Coincidence? I don't know. It sounds a bit to me like he may have been tipped off. Again, as that poster on Twitter pointed out, these main photos were taken from both sides of the river. The earliest with the photos being from the far side. And that was as soon as the first police responders were on the scene. Here is a map of the location, and you can clearly see there are no nearby bridges. Let's get back to Jason Rothwell. We now know that Jason was not a dog walker. He's actually a psychic medium who claimed that he had a feeling and was compelled to drive the 50 miles from his home in Oldham that morning to a remote location along a country road, leading him to the exact place where Nicola's body would be found. This is another man who deserves an award and should probably be hired on to help with missing persons cases. Allow me to ask another question because, I just love asking you guys questions, but that's because you guys are smart, and sometimes I need help understanding things. So, when have you ever known the police to receive a phone call from someone claiming to be a psychic, and within minutes, the police send not only one officer, but the entire police force, helicopters, divers, drones, all off of a psychic intuition? Jason Rothwell did not say he saw the body. He only said he felt it was there. So before anyone came and looked, they had called everyone. Does that make sense? Before they even had eyes on the body, allegedly, from what we've been told, they called everyone. I've never heard of that happening, ever. In fact, I know a few very reputable psychics that have worked in missing persons and murder investigations that have great track records that are still not even given a call back when they feel that they have had an intuition about a case. More often than not, they have to get other people to get on board with this, and everyone has to start calling the tip line and saying, I really think we need to look at this. And remember, it was within just 13 minutes of that phone call that we have police speeding down the road with their lights flashing, according to an eyewitness. Jason Rothwell has never given an interview to the media either, just like any of the other witnesses we have within this case. He did make a post of a statement on February 20th to his Facebook profile that quickly made its way around the internet. However, the statement has since been edited. It's been said that that is likely because the original statement brought up another person who was recovered from a river 23 days after his disappearance, 5 years prior to this. And that would be the case of Michael Brooks, who was also from Lancashire. Jason Rothwell said that he had previously assisted in the recovery of Michael Brooks. As far as connections on that, I'm not even going to get into that. I am now going to read to you the statement Jason made, the original statement. Quote, "It is with great regret that I have to address this issue at this time period. But due to a wide number of private inquiries and threads now circulating on YouTube and TikTok, I feel I should put out a brief statement. As has obviously become apparent, yes, it is myself and the images in the media currently circulating relating to the case of Nicola Bulley. And yes, yesterday morning it was myself and a friend who reported and assisted the police in the recovery of a body from the river Wire. Such as it is, it would be inappropriate of me to discuss in any further detail anything we may know about that body at this time, considering a formal identification of that body has yet to be confirmed. I would also like to just say a huge thank you to Lancashire Police for their help, support, and the open-mindedness with which they dealt with us following our call. Spiritualists or mediums are obviously not something the police come across every day, and I appreciate the respect given to us both. It is also important to mention, I was not asked by the police or Nicola's family to become involved in this case, but having seen the wild speculation and hurtful commentary that has been ongoing, and having previously assisted in the recovery of Michael Brooks, I decided to use whatever gift it is we mediums possess, and try and locate Nicola Bulley. I would, however, stress again, I cannot confirm that body we traced yesterday is that of the lady in question. My thoughts and prayers are with her family, friends, and loved ones at this time, and I do hope that if it is indeed Nicola, they can find some peace with this. If it is not, I would send my prayers to the family of whomsoever it may be. I would add as a final note, I will not be giving any further information or commentary at this time regarding the work involved in finding this person, nor is it my place to engage in any discussion on how that body came to originally be in the water." Unquote. Is he saying he knows how the body came to originally be in the water? Monday, February 20th, the senior coroner, Dr. James Adley, I don't know if I'm saying that right, confirmed during a 4-minute hearing that the body that was retrieved from the river Reeds was in fact Nicola, and that this was confirmed by dental records. No cause of death was released, and we were told that there would be an inquest in June for further evaluation by a forensic pathologist. To me, that means they are thinking that this is a suspicious death, and they're awaiting a forensic pathologist to take a look at the evidence that they have gathered. Obviously, there are many speculative theories that are circulating about how Nicola's body ended up concealed in the reeds at a location that was allegedly thoroughly searched by the best of the best for 23 days. It has been noticed that there is a very convenient lay-by along that country road, which would be perfect for someone to hide a body. We've never been told that the lay-bys were searched, so who knows? Again, we're just left to speculate. There's also another fairly large caravan site in close proximity and a nearby culvert where it's possible that her body could have been stored without being discovered. But that's all, again, speculation. None of it can be proven. We don't know how her body got there or if it was indeed her body at all. To be fair, a photo of the recovery, which I find to be pretty interesting, is this rescue crew standing around laughing and they look to be joking. I don't know what's funny about recovering a deceased mother's body. I also don't understand why it was posted to begin with, unless they're laughing at us and anyone who believes that this whole day wasn't a pre-planned show. Just a theory, speculation, allegedly, my opinion, of course. That being said, there's no information on the chain of custody of the body, which is very, very important in any case. There's always a chain of custody. Who collected the body from the crime scene? Who handled it? Who analyzed and transferred the body to the morgue, and then where it would be stored, and then to the funeral home? The belongings that went with the body, there's a checklist for all of that. They're bagged, they're marked. There were 24 hours before the senior coroner had the chance to examine the body that following afternoon at 2:15 p.m. For all we know, the body recovered could have been a prop that was switched to Nicola's body by the time the senior coroner came to perform the autopsy. But that's me getting a little bit too conspiracy theory, and I do like to steer clear of that for YouTube's policies. I just want to be transparent with my thoughts. From what I understand, the manner in which the body was being hoisted out of the reeds by two individuals showed a lack of care and respect, but that's hearsay because I haven't seen that with my own eyes. I just read a report where it was said that it just didn't seem like it was done with much care. Now, this right here is not my theory. I read it online and I wrote it down as a possibility, but at the time I read it, I didn't believe it, and now I can't find it. Now I'm seeing a different picture, so I'm gonna run it by you guys and see what you think. I looked at so many things since day one of this investigation, and I wrote a lot down, and I wrote a lot of sources down, but I don't have it for this, so I'm not sure where I got it from. But anyway, I talked about pawns. I didn't really talk about characters, though. I don't really believe that there are actual paid actors within this investigation. That's a little far out there even for me to believe, or at least too far out there for me to speak on right now, given that I haven't really looked into that specifically. So we're just going to leave it at that. But I did notice a few people talk about Curtis from Curtis Media, whom I used some information from, and I gave credit to him for that information in a video when it came to him and his little interaction with Penny. I thought his work was great. It was, in my opinion, done respectfully, though I didn't watch every single video he put out. The 2 or 3 that I did view seemed respectful. And then right after I put that video out crediting him, he was arrested the next morning. So I got a few comments in the comment section about that, but some people have said that Curtis may have actually been an actor, or that he was placed within this investigation to distract. And the reason why I'm not completely opposed to that idea is because that's where my Something About Penny video came from. And that's where I got the information that led me to think that something was going on within that caravan park. So it did distract me. And I know I'm not the only one who was distracted by it. But according to what I read, his YouTube account was set up 2 days before Nicola's disappearance. And once I read that, that's when I thought, well, isn't that another coincidence? Not only that, but who else happened to be there when Nicola's body was discovered? None other than Curtis of Curtis Media, who ended up leaking that video footage of Jason Rothwell that fateful morning. In fact, he allegedly had video of the body being recovered, and that's the whole reason he was arrested. Curtis was actually quoted saying, quote, "When I arrived in St. Michael's that day, about 11 o'clock, me and the mainstream media were talking, and we could see the helicopter hovering. So we all headed over to the field. They had to collect all their big camera stuff, so I got there first," unquote. Excuse me, what? You arrived in St. Michael's at 11 o'clock? Are you a psychic medium as well? Or is this just another happy coincidence? Outstanding intuition at its finest. He managed to get there just in time for Nicola's body to be discovered with a few minutes to spare in order to park and set up. We need another award, you guys. How many have we given out so far? Just in this video. Would this be 3? Chris Neal was quoted saying, "It was just sheer luck. Quote, I was heading to Fleetwood driving alongside the River Wire," unquote. In my opinion, again, this was all a show. A setup. There was no investigation, not the way we are being told. It's clear to me that there's nothing authentic about the recovery of Nicola's body and the entire day's events leading up to it and following it. They went through the motions, but there was nothing genuine about this recovery, in my opinion. This is where we're going to end part 2. In part 3, I would like to go over a few theories within the theory. So obviously, my main working hypothesis is that foul play was involved, aka third-party involvement. I believe Nicola was abducted and I believe her body was placed within the reeds sometime after the 20th day of her disappearance. Whether her body was stored in the lay-by or somewhere else and then released, and it ended up flowing there to where it was found, I don't know. People have been saying that the body was seen floating to that area, but from anything that I can find that's legit, unless it's been removed, we do know there's a lot that has been deleted within this case. So I haven't seen anywhere where Jason Rothwell says this. The only thing he publicly says is what I read to you within this video that I can find. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that I can find. If you have evidence of that, like you have an article that you screenshotted or you know someone that has, then you can feel free to share that. I just don't have it. From all I have seen, the body had not been seen at all until the divers went down. Jason pointed to the location and the divers went down and voila, the body was there. I do understand many people have heard many different things, but if I can't prove it, I'm not going to say it with certainty. So please feel free to comment because the truth is important. I've said many times, in many different cases, I don't have to be right. Sometimes I don't even want to be right. I want to be wrong. I don't want things to be as ugly as they appear. Reporting on true crime is not just about who's right and who's first. It's about the truth. The real truth, and seeking justice for the victims who have no way to seek it for themselves. Please have a great rest of your day, your evening, your week, your weekend, whatever time it is for you. Please stay happy, healthy, and love on your family. And think about everything that you have to be grateful for. I know it's not all sunshine and rainbows for everybody, but I think we all have at least one or two things that we can be sincerely grateful for. And when things are not looking so pretty, I think it's very important to remember those things. Every day is a new day to start over, in my opinion. I truly believe that. Now, don't let that enable you to do dumb shit today, knowing that you can start over tomorrow. That's not what I mean. I do think it's sometimes helpful when you're feeling overwhelmed to understand that you cannot change the past, but I do believe that you can change your future. And it all starts today. No matter what your views, no matter what your opinions, no matter what your struggles or your triumphs are, always be yourself, unapologetically. See you on the next one.